This is a second video for your SketchUp Dragster. So as you can see, we've got our dragster already made. We're adding our second wheel axle here. Decided to, again, I made my guideline, set up my guideline, made it so that it was exactly the same distance, which was 7 millimeters off, which is what I did for mine. You can be anywhere between 5 and 10 millimeters from the bottom of your model. So you want to make sure that you have at least 5 millimeters of model underneath to support the axle, but no more than 10, so that you've got clearance for your car to roll. So what I've got here is I've already done the one hole. We are going to check out and do the second hole for the axle. So if we look at it, there should be, these holes are lined up. If I wanted to, I could actually take and do a measurement line, and I could do right from the midpoint of my measurement line, which is my guide point. I can come straight across and make sure that it is a nice straight line, which would tell me that it is a straight line. And I am 242 millimeters roughly to the hole. 242 millimeters is where we need to be. So if I flip over and I look at my dragster specs, here the wheelbase no more than 270 millimeters. So I'm well within where I need to be. So my hole is set, it's ready to go. I want to push pull this out. So I'm just going to do this again to show you guys. I'm going to change my orbit so I can see the front of my model. And all you have to be able to see is the side that you're going to be pushing through on and the far corner, so you can get one of the endpoints. Doesn't matter if it's the top or the bottom endpoint. I'm going to select my push pull tool. I'm going to select push pull tool again. I'm going to select the actual axle hole there. I'm going to click on the axle hole. I'm going to start pushing my model through. But instead of going straight through, I'm just going to move my mouse all the way over to where I see endpoint. Once I see endpoint, I'm going to hit the endpoint button or I click the button, and I have just gotten rid of my all of the hole material. So now you can see if I move my shape right, I can see right through my model. So now comes the fun part. You've got your model. This is the base. If you haven't already done so, you're going to want to make sure that you save your model, because this is your dragster blank. So you have right here, this is the bare minimum dragster blank. Now what you can do is you can start to design your car however you want to. So there's some really cool things that we can do with this, and I'm just going to show you a couple of them. The first one that we can do is I can use my line tool, and I decide I want to make a better angle of attack. I can go from this endpoint. I can just come straight up here, and I'm just going to go right to this edge, and I've created a new line. Once I've got that line, all I do is I use my push pull tool, click on the push pull tool, and I push this all the way the other way. So it goes the other way to the far side. It'll turn that kind of that weird color. I click the button and it disappears. So now when I rotate this around and I look at my car using my orbit tool, I have got this wicked little front that I just made, right? But maybe straight lines aren't your style, or you don't want to cut your straight lines in there. So I can go back here and I'm going to use the scribble tool. To use the scribble tool, you find your starting point. You have to hold your button down. So I'm going to hold the button down, and you have to be a pretty good artist for this one. But I am going to come in here and I connect it back up to my edge again. So you have to have a starting and ending point that are along the same edge. I then am going to take my push pull tool again, find that new section that I just blocked off. I'm going to push it all the way through till it gets to the edge. Oh, let's get this going all the way through. Once it gets to where it says offset limited, click my button, and that shape is now gone. So when I've got my orbit tool here, look at what I have just created just with what I've got here. So I have got my new shape here. Last thing that you could do if you want to get some clean arcs or some clean lines is we go to our arc tool, which is going to be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th one down, and you want to choose the one that says the 2-point arc tool. So you're looking, there's a 3-point arc, there's a 2-point arc, there's an arc, and then there's a pie. So we're going to do the 2-point arc tool. So the way the 2-point arc tool is, we click on that. We're going to find where we want our starting point to be on the edge. We're going to go all the way across. Don't worry about how it's setting up there. We're going to go all the way across to our next edge. So we get on here where it says tangent to edge. We're going to make it here, put it up on the edge. And then what we do is when we bring our back in, we move our pencil up and down to get the arc that we would like to get. Now, one of these that I might have messed this up with where I'm at because I think I might be into my hole. So we're going to find out here real fast, but I'm just doing this so you can see what it would look like. So if I'm going to cut way down here, once I click my third button, I've got my line on there. So now I, again, would use my push-pull tool, and I go on the top, and I push all of my material away, click it, and I did not get it. But what we want to do, let's check to make sure that I didn't get too much off. So I'm going to spin this all the way around, and I can already tell you that I did because I can see my hole. So right here, see, I can see on the top, I can see that hole there. I cut too much off, so I don't have enough depth for my material to get to where it would pass inspection. So I would have to go back and redo and change some of that to make sure I get that. Because I have to make sure that I have at least 3 millimeters of material. So if I check on this one and I've got my measurement tool here on the top, I click on the end point and I go straight up along the axis here to the other end point. I have a total of 6 millimeters on the front there, but because it curves down and I can see the hole in here, I don't have the full 3 millimeters. So what I would do is I would just hit the undo button, and I would go back and redo that again and change my arc to get something that's a little bit better. So those are some quick tools to help get you to create the most aerodynamic and awesome dragster that you possibly can. Good luck.